Welcome to the Warrior in Progress podcast. This podcast features honest and vulnerable discussions about how to make lasting mindset shifts. Through these mindset shifts, you'll be able to commit to yourself and stop sabotaging yourself so you can transform your life. I'm your host, Jennifer McKee, certified health coach and motivational speaker. Look, I've been there. I've done that. I've lost over 50% of my body weight naturally. That's 185 pounds. I invite you to subscribe to the Warrior in Progress podcast for motivational, inspirational, and thought-provoking topics where I'll share with you some practical tools that I've learned on my journey so far that will empower you and help you to access that inner warrior that's inside each and every one of us. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome back to the Warrior in Progress podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer McKee. Can you believe that I released the trailer for this podcast just over a year ago? I cannot believe that. It's amazing how quickly time flies. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for all of your support for this podcast and, all the positive feedback I received, all the constructive criticism I received. You have helped me in so many ways, and I really hope that I've helped you in some way, shape, or form. And I do apologize for the delay in the release of this podcast. I understand I haven't released an episode in almost 4 months. I appreciate everyone's patience with me and delivering this content for you. So one thing that I want to talk about, because I see this all the time with myself, but also with clients that I coach, expectations of ourselves and also expectations of other people. It's very difficult sometimes to understand what is a realistic expectation because honestly, most of us have unrealistic expectations, but we think that those expectations are realistic, but they're not. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit to you today about expectations of ourselves and others and how we can set and maintain those reasonable expectations. So a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I expect others to see things as I do, right? I don't know why. It's just, I expect someone to look at the world as I look at the world. And when they don't, I'll feel disappointed, hurt, lonely. And a lot of times I assume it is about me, and I take it personally. That's my ego, right? So this can also trigger our core wounds. We have core wounds from childhood, not feeling good enough, feeling like we're a failure, feeling like we're not lovable, feeling that we will be abandoned. Those are all examples of some core wounds, which I've discussed in some prior podcast episodes. And so those core wounds can get triggered when someone says or doesn't say something, or does or doesn't say something. So we get angry when we don't get what we want or what we expect. Though many times we have not communicated our needs or our expectations. We haven't communicated that to the other person. We assume that they should know or that it's common sense. Have you ever found yourself saying, "That's common sense. I can't believe they didn't know that." We start taking on a victim role. Why are they doing this to me? Why are they doing this to me? But guess what? It has nothing to do with us. It really has absolutely nothing to do with us. Everyone has different expectations because it's almost like everybody has a different pair of glasses on, based on our past experiences. We have a pair of glasses that is a particular prescription. I can't expect you to see the world through the glasses that I see the world through because you have been through different experiences. Okay? So our past experiences shape how we view the world. It's almost like, I really like the analogy too about a camera. If you think about, let's say that you see a bird, okay? And there's 3 different photographers that are photographing this bird, right? Let's say that they are positioned in different places. So when they take the picture of the bird, it's a different angle. It's a different perception of the bird. Maybe in one shot, one photo, the bird looks like it has a little bit of blue in it, but from another angle, in the other photo that a different photographer took, maybe it looks like that's actually not blue at all, but it's green. So, one photographer can be saying, no, it was green. The other one could be saying, no, it's blue. And it was like how they saw the bird through their camera, pair of glasses. That was their reality, right? That was their reality. So this is not about right or wrong. When we start getting into that, I'm right, you're wrong, that's ego. That is our ego. People don't have to see things the way that we see them. They really don't. They don't have to always understand us. I used to spend a lot of time and energy trying to get people to understand me. It's just not realistic. It's not realistic because everybody has a different pair of glasses on, like I said. But as long as we are true to ourselves and our values, it's okay that others don't see things the way that we see them. What's really cool though is when you meet somebody who does see things the way you do. It's like that can be really great sometimes. A lot of times too, we want validation. And so if somebody does see things in the same way as us, it's almost like we're getting validation that our way of seeing things is quote unquote right. Okay, so again, that's all ego based. But I want to point something out though with expectations. Like it is very possible that you have someone or maybe a few people in your life who are toxic for you. Okay. Those are people where, they never follow through with what they say they're going to do. And the way they see things or the way that they see the world, their values are not in alignment with your values. So if it's something like that is happening, you may consider letting that person go if it is toxic for you. But I would encourage you to talk with other people about that. Talk with your therapist, talk with your coach, talk with your friends and your family to determine if that's what you need to do. Because in some cases, we do need to let certain people go who are toxic for us. We can wish them well and we can give them compassion and just understand that we're not in alignment or we are no longer in alignment with each other. We are no longer serving each other's evolution or growth. Okay, so that I just want to mention that as a side note because that is very possible that there could be someone in your life that that to be the case, yet you continue expecting certain things from this person and they never deliver. And it's not about you. Maybe they're just not capable of delivering. So I want to move on and talk about one of the biggest keys to expectations, and that is communication. Communication is a huge key to setting realistic expectations, and also it's part of our responsibility to communicate. It's totally part of our responsibility. So I'm going to give you 3 tips here about communication. Okay, so the first thing is clearly communicate your intentions and needs with the other person. Okay, that is your responsibility to do that. We cannot assume that the other person is going to know our needs or to know what our intentions are. Okay, it's our responsibility to communicate that, but we also need to make sure that we're keeping our needs realistic. So we all have different needs, okay, and we have wants as well. But whatever we need from someone else, we need to make sure we're keeping those realistic. For example, if I need someone to help me do something around my house, but I know that they're working, the entire day, or maybe they're working a 10-hour day on the day that I need them, then chances are they're probably not going to be able to help me, right? So we need to make sure that we're being realistic and not expecting something that is unrealistic in that case. So clearly communicate your intentions and needs, making sure that, you're keeping a little bit of a realistic perspective on that. And the other suggestion there is to ask the person. Don't tell them or demand. Simply ask them, state what your needs and intentions are. Ask them for whatever it is that you need. Then let the person make their own decision on if they can help you. And then accept that. Accept whatever they say, whether it's yes, whether it's no. Okay, so we have to be willing to accept the response that we get. The second tip regarding communication is that if your expectations are not met from someone, let's say that you do communicate your intentions and your needs and you ask and all of that. And let's say that they do offer to help you with whatever it is. So if your expectations are not met, like they don't follow through with helping you, or they don't help based on what you had agreed on. For example, if you're moving and that you ask them to help you for 3 hours and they only help you for 30 minutes, ask yourself, how can you use this experience as a learning opportunity? You may want to talk with a person because maybe they didn't have the full picture, or maybe there was some kind of a misunderstanding. That really happens so frequently with communication. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel that I'm being very clear with my communication, and then I find out much later that there was a misunderstanding. And so I find that sometimes we have good intentions, we communicate to the best of our ability, but there is still a misunderstanding that happens. So it's important to, instead of jumping to conclusions and getting angry and yelling at the other person or blaming the other person, that first we talk about it in a rational way and ask the person, say, I thought that I stated these intentions and this is what I needed from you, and you agreed to do this, but this is what I saw you do, and I'm just wondering if there was a misunderstanding. And then take responsibility. Take responsibility for that. Take responsibility if there is a misunderstanding and talk about it. The third tip regarding communication is, if a person, place, thing, or situation continuously disappoints you, in other words, they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do. Does that sound familiar, everybody? Because you should know what that is. Okay, there's some star students here listening because they said integrity, and that's exactly right. If you're not doing what you say you're going to do, you're not in integrity. Okay, so we have integrity with ourselves. So when we're not doing what we're telling ourselves we're going to do, we're out of integrity with ourselves. But we also have integrity with other people, and they with us. So if somebody doesn't do what they say they're going to do, they're out of integrity with you. Okay, so if you're noticing that that's happening continuously or more times than not, I would like you to ask yourself a few questions. So ask yourself, were my expectations realistic? Be honest with yourself about that. Second thing, is this person, place, thing, situation even capable of meeting my needs and my requests? I gave an example about if you ask someone to help you move, but you know that they're working all day, or you find out that they're working all day. Is that really realistic, to expect them to meet? Or if I'm trying to get blood from a turnip, is that realistic? You know what I mean? We have to be really honest with ourselves. So is this person, place, thing, situation even capable of meeting my needs or requests? And by the way, when I'm talking about people, place, thing, situation, I mean, think about this from a work context. Maybe you're in a dead-end job. Maybe you're in a job where you do not feel fulfilled. And you think, oh, if I just get a raise, or if I just get a promotion into this and work like in this other team or whatever, then I'll be happy. But you may find that even if all of that happens, you're still not happy in that particular company or role or whatever. And so we have to ask ourselves, is that job or company even capable of meeting my needs, right? The other thing is, ask yourself, what are their intentions? Was their intention to harm? Was their intention to harm me? Was it to upset me? Or was it just a misunderstanding? Ask yourself. And we might not fully understand their intentions because we can only guess. That's something that I would encourage you to ask them instead of guessing. what their intentions are, but also to understand that maybe something's happening with them. Everyone is going through their own stuff, and you might not fully know what somebody else is going through. And I think it's important to understand that it may look like somebody has everything together, but deep down, they may be struggling. So I think it's important to have compassion and understand that people are doing the best they can with the knowledge that they currently have, okay? That doesn't make it right, okay? So I'm not saying that. Remember, this is not about right or wrong, okay? This is not about right or wrong, but I'm just saying that, there may be something that we don't know about what this person is going through. So we can ask ourselves, what are their intentions? We might not know if they haven't told us. And then I think it's important to ask ourselves, what are my intentions and what are my motives? And this is a question that I ask myself quite frequently, and sometimes I am not 100% sure. Like sometimes too, I start to think that my motives are positive, but then the more I look at it, I realize actually that sometimes my motives are not positive. Sometimes I am asking someone to help me or do something because of maybe I need validation, or maybe I'm just being lazy, or whatever the case may be. So the more that I look at my motives, the more I've been able to get clear on what my intentions actually are. Okay. And I have to be very honest with myself about that, even though sometimes it's difficult, because if my motives aren't so good, it can create those feelings of shame and guilt. Okay. but I need to look at those things. The other thing I would encourage you to ask yourself is, if someone's is continuously disappointing you, like a person, place, thing, or situation, am I willing to accept the situation and do what I need to do to set my own boundaries and let go of the outcome? Because that is how you take care of yourself, okay? Set boundaries and let go of the outcome. So for example, if I'm in a situation where someone continuously does not follow through with their promises to me, right? They're out of integrity with me. I might need to I will need to start setting some of my own boundaries. And maybe what that means is I cut them out of my life. It depends on the situation, right? And how severe the lack of integrity is. Or maybe it just means that I only reach out to them. I still reach out to them, but I don't count on them to help me with anything that is extremely important, because maybe they're just not capable of following through. And that's okay. But I can set the boundary for myself. I can figure out what boundary I need to set for myself. And then I can just let go of the outcome. So for example, if I have somebody who is, setting up appointments with me, or not appointments, that's not the right word, but dinner dates with me, or whatever the case, and that person's not following through and not reaching out to me to let me know that she can't follow through, then maybe I need to, and then I keep getting disappointed and hurt, and it keeps happening. What I might need to do is to set my own expectations and understand that this person most likely isn't going to follow through. But that doesn't mean that I can't still be a friend in some capacity. It doesn't mean that I can't, set up an appointment with her, or a dinner date or whatever with her, and just assume that, she may or may not follow through with it, and be okay with that. But maybe it might get to the point where I just don't want to, it's just not healthy for me anymore to deal with somebody who's that much out of integrity with me. And so maybe at that point I need to, consider letting the person go, wish them well, and that's it. You know what I mean? So setting our own boundaries is very important for self-care, and not just setting our own boundaries, but sticking to the boundaries that we set. I want to talk about acceptance as well, because I've kind of mentioned that a little bit. Being able to, like for example, set boundaries and let go of the outcome, and to accept that we cannot control anybody else, right? Or any place, thing, or situation. So acceptance of life on life's terms is so necessary, because there's so much we cannot control out there, okay? And that letting go of the outcome, letting go is the action part of faith. Having faith that we are being led to where we need to be, and that there's lessons that we can learn along the way, that there's lessons that we're being taught. Are you ready to learn those lessons? Are you ready to see those lessons? I fully believe that we repeat the same quote unquote mistakes in situations until we learn the lesson. Are you resistant to learning your lessons or some of your lessons? Why or why not? I know for so long I was very resistant to learning lessons, and I still am, to be honest with you. There's certain things that I'm still trying to learn, and that's okay. Have you ever told yourself, I'm right, I know what to do, I know what common sense is? If we're talking to ourselves like that, we might consider that we don't know everything, and then we might consider that we're being a little bit resistant there. Are you willing to keep an open mind and just accept that you might not know everything from every possible angle or perspective? Are you willing to accept that you have a pair of glasses on and you're seeing things through a certain angle? It's not about right or wrong. Are you willing to accept there are other perspectives? There's other ways to see things. You don't have to agree, but are you open to learning? Are you open to learning about these other perspectives? The other thing I want to talk about is that, everything has a cost or a trade-off. And I want to talk, a great example about this would be weight loss, right? So the cost and trade-off with weight loss expectations. So let me ask you, in regards to weight loss or maybe transforming your life, what are your expectations? Do you expect to go from point A to point Z overnight? A lot of times with weight loss, I hear people that I coach say things to me like they expect to be losing 5 pounds a week, 10 pounds a week. That's their expectation, right? And first of all, that's not a healthy way to lose weight. Usually people who are losing weight at that rate don't keep the weight off. So the question is, do you want to transform your life from the inside out so that you can keep the weight off? Or are you just looking to re-lose the same 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds? Really, what do you want here? So once you determine what your realistic expectations are, ask yourself, what is the trade-off? What's the cost? What am I going to do daily to be consistent with creating these new healthy habits so that I can achieve my goals? And in the case of weight loss, your realistic expectation may be to lose an average of 5 to 8 pounds per month. Ask yourself, what is the cost or trade-off to achieve this? If you want to lose 5 to 8 pounds a month, what do you think you're going to have to do to accomplish that? Do you think that you can keep doing what you've been doing and lose 5 to 8 pounds a month and keep it off? Because I'm willing to bet the answer is probably no there. Because when we want to do something like that, there's a lot of things that we have to do. We have to plan. We have to make time for ourselves. We have to be consistent. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to reach out for support. We have to work on forgiving ourselves when we're not perfect. We have to keep moving forward despite any mistakes that we make. We have to learn from those mistakes. We have to work on not beating ourselves up. Giving ourselves compassion and grace. We have to work through anything that is mentally holding us back, which could be trauma. It could be things from our childhood. It could be maybe difficult situations we've been through, like divorce, abuse, anything like that. We have to be willing to work through those things if it's impacting our adult life. If it's impacting our self-love and our self-worth, it's really important to work through those things. And I believe that it takes time. And I also believe it takes a lot of courage to work through some of those mental blocks that we have. I would encourage you to work with a licensed professional if there's anything like that you need to work through regarding trauma or abuse. Seek out a licensed professional. I can tell you that doing that was one of the best things that I ever did. We have to be willing to work through those things. And that doesn't mean that we work through all of those things at once. It just means we take baby steps. Progress, not perfection, right? But that's just like a few things that we need to do, right? If we want to transform our lives. It's not just about a number on a scale. It's about transforming from the inside out. So there is a trade-off. There is a trade-off. Quick fixes don't work. They do not work in the long run. I don't know about you. I've tried every single diet out there, and I can tell you that I was never able to keep the weight off with any of them. So let me ask you a question. Are you ready to put in the work? Are you ready? Because you're worth it, and you can do it. And you know what's interesting is it only takes one small step in the right direction. That's it. But we have to be consistent. We have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to reach out for support. Personally, I don't know any other way. If you know of another way, I would love to hear about it. Please send me an email, let me know, send me a message on Facebook. I would love to hear your thoughts because, maybe I am missing something here, but from my experience, that is what I have found has really helped me and also the other people that I've coached and also even people I haven't coached who have transformed their lives. So now I want to give you a call to action. Is there a person, place, thing, or situation in your life that you're continually getting disappointed with? By the way, this could be yourself as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be another person. It could be yourself that you're continually disappointed with. Ask yourself if your expectations are realistic. And I would encourage you to journal about this, by the way. Ask yourself, what are my needs? What are my intentions? What are my motives? Are you communicating your intentions, needs, and expectations clearly? And if this is about yourself, are you writing down what your goals are? Are you writing down what your daily goals are and holding yourself accountable with those every day and reaching out for support? Because if you're not doing that and you're keeping everything in your head, or if you're not consistently doing that, then how is that communication to yourself, clear? It's not, because you're sometimes doing one thing, sometimes doing another thing. Remember, we cannot change a person, place, thing, or situation, somebody outside of ourselves, right? Outside of that hula hoop around us. We cannot change any of that. We have no control over that. We do have control over ourselves and the food we put into our mouth and the drink that we put into our mouth and how we talk to ourselves and the things that we do for ourselves every day. We do have control over that. But is there something that you need to accept about another person, place, thing, or situation that maybe you can't change it or maybe you can't control it? How can you accept it and set your own boundaries and then let go of the outcome? So I would encourage you to journal about these things and really ask yourself these questions, because I think that if we're clear about our intentions, our motives, and we communicate to the best of our ability, if we're still disappointed from these expectations that we have, it's something that we might consider setting some boundaries and then letting go of the outcome to take care of ourselves, Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you are having a great holiday season, and I look forward to talking to you in the next podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode of the Warrior in Progress podcast, then please share it with your friends, share it with everybody. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast as well so you can get notifications on when I release new episodes. Meanwhile, you can follow me on social media. On Facebook, my handle is fullycommitted13, and on Instagram, my handle is fully_committed13. You can find out more about my work at McKeeHealth.com. That's McKeehealth.com. And make sure to download my free Tame Your Inner Critic guide at McKeeHealth.com, and you can learn how to stop beating yourself up, how to stop sabotaging yourself so that you can achieve your goals. Remember, you're a warrior in progress, and you can do anything you set your mind to.